Okay, thanks everybody for your patience. Okay, good morning. Today is Sunday, May 2nd. I can't believe it's already May already. My name is Reverend Candace Shibata. I'm here at the Buddhist Church of Stockton, and I welcome you this morning as we conduct our Sunday Dharma service, followed by our Shotsuki monthly memorial service for the month of May. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we usually start our services with the ringing of the bell, tolling of the bell, called the kansho. And you may remember that we always ring the bell to begin our services. And this allows all of us, including myself, to have a moment of quiet reflection and to quiet my mind and quiet my body for today's service. So I welcome you to also do that as well during the tolling of the bell called the kansho. Okay, so at this time, we will have our opening meditation prepared by Darlene Bagshaw. Please join me in Gasho. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namandabutsu, 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 namandabutsu. Thank you, Darlene. It was a beautiful kind of wrap up. I know we're coming close to the end of our Dharma school year, so it was a nice little illustration of hopeful throughout the year and sharing the memories of our past events and things at the temple. So thank you so much. Okay, so I'll go ahead and share screen to share our suture chanting for today. Okay. So we'll be chanting Jusege, which is 3 sacred vows. And as I typically mention, suture chanting is a way for us to receive the teachings of the Buddha, to also praise the Buddha for the teachings, and also to have this community experience of being together as a sangha or a congregation of Buddhist followers. So please join me in the chanting of Jusege this morning. Agon Chosegam Hishimu Jodom Shigan Fumanzok Seifu Joshogak Gabo Muryokon Fui Dai Seishu Fusai Shobingu Seifu Joshoga Gashi Jobutsudom Myosho Chojipo Kukyomi Shomon Seifu Joshogak Ryokuji Shonen Jomei Shubongyo Shigumu Jodom Isho Tenishi Jiniki and Aiko Busho Saido Jojo Sanyo Osai Kunan Kai Chiag Meshi Moan Eisoku Showakudo Tsudatsu Zen Shumon Kosojo Manzok Iyodo Jippon Nichigatsu Shujuki Tenkon Pugen Ishu Kai Hozo Kosei Kudoku Jodai Shuchu Seppo Shishiku Kuyoi Saibutsu Kusoku Shutokuon Gane Shitsujoman Tokui Sangayo Ryobutsu Mugechi Tsudatsumi Fushon Gangaku Erik Toshi Saisho Son Shiganya Kokan Daisen no Kando Goku Shotenin Touchi Myo Namandabu, 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 Namandabu. Kanishiku Tokum Byodo Seisai Don Modai Audio Namandavats, 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 namandavats. So thanks so much for chanting along with me at home. We'll continue the service with the recitation of the Golden Chain number 2. Please join me by placing your palms together in Gassho. Golden Chain 2. I am a link in the Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I must keep my link bright and strong. I will try to be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that on what I do now depends not only my happiness or unhappiness, but also that of others. May every link in the Buddha's golden chain of love become bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namu Amidabutsu. Namu Amidabutsu. Namu Amidabutsu. Namandavats, namandavats, namandavats. Okay, so at this time, I wanted to share my Dharma message with all of you. So, today we are on the second day of May, and it's kind of hard to believe that. And although it only is the 2nd of May, I wanted to touch upon something that's approaching in a few days, which is May 4th. And some of you may know what I'm referring to. So it's Star Wars Day, May 4th, which celebrates the Star Wars franchise. And it's referred to the slogan, we refer to the slogan as May the 4th be with you when it's May 4th. So this plays on the phrase, may the force be with you. So I grew up watching the earlier Star Wars movies on our Betamax video player. And so most of the younger generations probably don't even know what I'm talking about or have never seen a Betamax machine before. But we were so fortunate to have one of the Star Wars movies on our Betamax video. And so, however, when I was watching that, I was really young, and I didn't know that my Jedi training would have started then to allow me to share the Force or share the Dharma with you today. So you might have already seen all or most of the movies and said to yourself, wow, Star Wars sounds really Buddhist, which, yes, I must agree with you. And maybe in pop culture and different movies, you might have seen other movies or other themes of movies or shows that feel like they have Buddhist tenets in them. And I wouldn't be surprised because I'm sure you can see Buddhism in a lot of our pop culture today as well. So in all of the Star Wars movies, there's this battle between individuals from the dark side of the Force and the Jedi who promote the light side of the Force. And as all of you Star Wars enthusiasts know, there are powerful individuals who have been on both sides of the Force, which I believe maybe all of us can agree upon that Anakin Skywalker, who becomes Darth Vader, is a prime example of being on the dark side and the light side of the Force. So, however, when I'm thinking about all these different things about the Star Wars and Buddhism, I think that Star Wars and Buddhism teaches us that we all have this dark side within us. And it's not something that we can run from, but it's something that we can come to understand and recognize it and accept to help ease our suffering and possibly prevent suffering that we may cause for another individual. In Buddhism, we describe the dark side as greed and anger and ignorance. And if you can see this picture that I shared with you, there are two individuals, which includes Qigong, and this is actually Reverend C.J. Dunford, who serves as a minister, as a minister's assistant and a minister with Tokudo at the Marin Buddhist temple. And if you see on the left-hand side of Reverend C.J., it's Kylo Ren. And so many of you know that this is Princess Leia and Han Solo's son. So actually, it's me. I don't know if you can really see. Maybe it's the eyes, if you can see my eyes, but it's me. And we were the Star Wars characters for a Halloween party at the Berkeley Buddhist Temple. So I think that this picture of the two of us really illustrates that I suffer from greed and anger and ignorance as a human being, even as a Jodo Shinshu minister. So one of the many emotions that we experience is fear, which the wise Jedi Master Yoda says leads to suffering into the dark side. So I wanted to share some of these wise words from Master Yoda. Please let me know. I hope that you could hear the audio okay.
Premonitions? Premonitions? These visions you have.
They're of pain, suffering, death.
Yourself you speak of? Or someone you know?
Someone.
Close to you?
Yes.
Careful you must be when sensing the future, Anakin. The fear of loss is a path to the dark side.
I won't let these visions come true, Master Yoda.
Death is a natural part of life. Rejoice for those around you who transform into the Force. Mourn them, do not. Miss them, do not. Attachment leads to jealousy. The shadow of greed, that is.
What must I do, Master Yoda?
Train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose.
Okay, so I think we could all agree that Master Yoda had a lot of wise words for the young Anakin Skywalker. So I hope all of us can kind of learn from those wise words. And I wanted to actually show another slide with you, or another scene from one of the movies in the Phantom Menace, from the Phantom Menace. And so Jedi Qui-Gon, he faces this major fear. And I'm not sure if he has fear, but the next clip that you might see, you might be a little bit fearful too if you saw this individual maybe walking down the street. And so this is Darth Maul, and he's from the dark side. And even just his appearance is a little bit scary. So in this clip, you'll see that he doesn't let the fear take over him. And you'll notice that Qui-Gon, he kneels briefly in meditation, and he waits for these barriers to kind of come back up while they're in this fighting scene. And so despite what lies ahead of him, he calmly kneels and he centers himself, and he lets go of this fear and worry. So let's take a look at this next clip. And we might even say that Qui-Gon, he's a Jedi Master as well. Okay. Okay, so this was a rather short clip that I wanted to share with you, but I think we could all agree that he probably was a very good Buddhist in regards to kind of waiting for this opportunity, calming his body, and facing fear, acknowledging this fear in his life as well. So the teachings of Buddhism that are involved in both of these clips that I've shared with you, I think they're very illustrative of how Buddhism is in pop culture and of course in Star Wars, seen in this light and dark. Buddhism encourages us to really accept the reality of our lives, regardless of what it is. So I do want to acknowledge that our experiences in life are very difficult. And sometimes they are difficult to endure, and we may not know what to do. So I too have to admit, there's days when I feel worried, sad, stressed, angry, a whole maybe spectrum of different emotions throughout the day. But this can also make me feel very fearful, wondering, what am I going to do? How am I going to solve this problem? How can I face tomorrow when I have so many things to do or so many worries? So I do want to acknowledge that we all have all of these different feelings. However, I think if we're able to acknowledge these feelings, maybe face some of our fears, accept what we're experiencing, this could allow us to maybe take baby steps in regards to moving towards acceptance and less suffering. So I do want to kind of just touch that Buddhism, it's not a tool to allow us to completely destroy this dark side that we all face in regards to greed and anger and ignorance, but it can shed light on our experience of being a human being. It allows us to be mindful in this moment. Buddhism allows us to accept life just as it is, just right now. But if we don't, then we'll continue to suffer and struggle and maybe cause some suffering and pain for other people as well. So when the Buddha began sharing the Buddha's teachings, he taught about the root of suffering and the cause. Right. So this was one of the first teachings that the Buddha shared with others when he attained enlightenment. The Buddha stated that it wasn't all of these external factors. You would think that that would be the case that causes suffering. However, it's our own misunderstandings, maybe our own clouded judgment, our own greed and anger and ignorance and fear. And maybe this fear of losing our attachments that causes the suffering. So again, for example, in the first clip, Anakin Skywalker was so fearful to lose individuals who he loved, including Padme, that he turned to the dark side. And it wasn't seen in this clip. However, the ability to try to have eternal life for her forced him to turn to the dark side and down a very, very dark path full of attachment, greed, anger, and suffering. So again, one of the ways in which we can come to an understanding is through insight from the Buddha's teachings. Mindfulness through the Nembutsu, mindfulness as Namu Amida Butsu to shed light on our lives can really give us this bright path to follow in our lives, to give us perspective when our eyes are blinded by the dark side. Perhaps try putting your hands together and close your eyes, as Qigong did, for a moment the next time that you might feel like you're struggling in your everyday life, your everyday activities, when you find yourself angry or fearful, overwhelmed, stressed, or sad, maybe something that's very uncomfortable for you. Try putting your hands together. And just remember that you too are Dharma Jedis. and may the Dharma be with each and every one of you. And I wanted to share again my beautiful poster from my member from the Buddhist Church of Florin, who made me this wonderful poster. May the Dharma be with you. Okay, so that's a nice reminder that we're all Jedis in the making, and we have Buddhism as this path to guide us. So thank you so much for allowing me to share just a few thoughts and feelings as we approach May 4th. Okay, so I wanted to continue the service by sharing so that we can do our next recitation with one another. So please join me by placing your palms together as we recite our pledge. Our pledge. Breaking out of my shell, I will share a warm smile and speak gentle words, just like the kind Buddha. Not becoming lost in my greed, anger, and ignorance, I shall think and act with an open mind, just like the calm and peaceful Buddha. Not putting myself first, I will share in the joy and sadness of others, just like the compassionate Buddha. Realizing the gift of life I have received, I shall strive to live each day to its fullest, like the Buddha who tirelessly works to liberate all. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandouts, 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 namandouts. Okay, so it's announcements time. Let's see, we have quite a few announcements today. First, I wanted to start off by wishing all of our members who have birthdays in May. And so a couple of these individuals include Kayla Hamamoto, Mei Saiki, Meiko Horita, Keith Naishi, Rick Naishi, Kelsey Hayashi, Lester Sterling, Jennifer Hota, Alex Sakata, and Reverend Yukiko Motoyoshi. Do we have anybody else joining us today with a May birthday? If you do, you can put your name in the chat, or you can say hello if you do have a May birthday. So if not, happy birthday to our dear friends who are celebrating their birthday this month. In regards to our scholarships, we have the Buddhist Church of Stockton scholarship applications are available, and you can request one by emailing the office, or you can call if you need assistance. But just remember that Friday, May 14th is the due date, and we need those scholarships emailed by 4 p.m. Is that correct? Or can applicants mail them or email them?
Whichever way they want.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm not
so
picky. Yeah, just as long as we get something so we can start working on it.
Perfect. Okay. So for the convenience of everything, we could have it emailed or mailed. Just we need those in by May 14th. So YBA is continuing their fundraisers for Sakura Groceries and Gifts. And this is May 3rd through the 6th. And in the Karma, we have these wonderful flyers, and you can go ahead and cut off the bottom of the flyer. And during this time, 5% of the sales will go to YBA, and there will be a designated tip jar for our Young Buddhist Association as well. So please go out and support our wonderful local Japanese grocery store, and also support the Young Buddhist Association as well. Today is the last day for the Young Buddhist Association's fundraiser at Pizza Guys. So I hope all of you were able to enjoy pizza to support the YBA as well. You can order online, and there's a code that says Church 10, and members will get 10% off, and then 25% of the net proceeds will go back to YBA. So this is a wonderful fundraiser. There's 3 different locations, and remember to include that code Church 10 to be able to get that discount as well. Okay, so we have our Buddhist Church of Stockton virtual spring seminar, and that is May 15th, Saturday. And we're so honored to have the guest speaker be Reverend Marvin Harada, who's the Bishop of the Buddhist Churches of America. And the seminar will be 9:30 to 12, and it'll allow us to look at practical Buddhism and truth level Buddhism. And what does that really mean? And one of the practical aspects that Reverend Harada will be showing to us is the act and practice of meditation from a Judo Shinshu perspective. So if any of you have been interested in mindfulness or meditation practices with a Judo Shinshu flair, please tune in to this very important and wonderful seminar. And if you need any assistance, because I would like to encourage all of our members to attend since it is via Zoom, please call me if you need any assistance with registration, since that needs to be done prior to the actual day of the seminar. The following day, May 16th, we will have our virtual Gotane, and our Parents' Day. We'll be celebrating our Parents' Day and also celebrating Hatsumairi, which is an infant's first service here at the temple. Well, not here at the temple, but virtually, but we'll be presenting, at least I know, one baby with their certificate. And our guest speaker again will be Reverend Harada. So we're so honored to be able to have him for these two occasions. There will be no service on May 30th. So prior to knowing what was going on, we canceled our service on the 30th to allow for attendance at the JACL picnic, but I believe that too is also canceled. However, we will be doing a virtual Memorial Day service on May 31st at 10 a.m. So just please note that we won't have any in-person services at the cemeteries, but we will be doing a joint memorial service on the 31st at 10 a.m. Keep saving your box tops so that we can continue to support our local schools. Remember that Sangha Club is still accepting bottles and cans for their recycling fundraiser. There's also a Buddhist Women's Association meeting today after the Shotsuki service. And thank you so much, everybody, for donating your osai-sen or your offerings by mailing them, or you could also donate on our website as well. Okay, so thank you so much for your continued support of the temple. Are there any other announcements that I might have missed? No? Okay, so I wanted to give this opportunity, if we have any new Dharma friends who are new to our service, if you would like to introduce yourselves, either through the chat, or you can turn on your mic and turn on your camera if you would like to introduce yourself. I would like to give you an opportunity to do so at this time. No, nothing in the chat, huh? Okay, well, thank you. If you are in attendance, thank you so much for joining us today. Also, I wanted to thank Darlene and Charlie Bagshaw for your assistance with Zoom, and all of you for your attendance. And thank you, Tachibata, for assisting me with the altar flowers as well. Okay, so thanks so much, everybody. I appreciate your attendance this morning, and we'll continue the service with Shotsuki monthly memorial service for the month of May. So at this time, feel free to either stay on with us for our memorial service, or you can go ahead and log off at your convenience. Okay. Okay, so we're switching gears. And I wanted to thank all of you who might have just signed on. Thank you so much for joining us for our monthly memorial service for the month of May. What we'll do is have opening meditation prepared by Darlene Bagshaw. Please join me in Gasho. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Nam Mandavats. Nam Mandavats. Nam Mandavats. Thank you so much, Darlene. I love to see pictures of all of our temples and our neighboring temples, and some of our old friends who we haven't seen in a while. So thank you so much. Okay, so I'd like to share my screen so that we can continue the service with Sambujo, followed by the reading of the Shotsuki names. And Sambujo is called 3 respectful callings, and we call upon Amida Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, and the Buddhas of the 10 directions to be present today. And during Sambujo, we respond with the word Sange Raku to welcome their presence. So I welcome you to join me in the chanting of Sambujo at home. Pujo Mida Nyorai Niuro Jo San Ge Da Ku Bujo Shakanyo Dai Niudom Jo San Ge Da Ku Bujo Jibo Yodan Niudon Jo San Ge Da Ku Let us pause for a moment and turn our hearts and aspiration to the Buddha of infinite light and life. On this joint memorial service, we have all gathered here in memory of the following people who have passed away. Faith Sumi Arakawa, Emiko Arata, Marian Babaoka, Nancy Suruko Chinen, Satoru Fujimura, Toshiko Fujishige, Ken Hamamoto, Nui Hatanaka, Kozo Hattori, Ayako Hayashi, Carol Lynn Keiko Hewitt, Mieko Higashi, Tsukino Hirano, Thomas Masaji Inamasu, Elva Kyoko Inoue, Matsunosuke Ishihara, Yoshio Itaya, Fred Masaru Ito, Setsuko Kajioka, Mary Kato, Misao Kato, Tadakazu Mai Kato, Tetsuya Kato, Lily Yuriko Kitagawa, Teruko Komure, Itsuyo Kubo, Eva Wang Kubuyama, Shoji Kuwabara, Paul Matsumoto, Wayne Patrick Mitsuda, Miyai, Kaname Ben Miyamoto, Kimiko Mori, Lois Yukiko Morimoto, Kei Kifu Morita, Tsuki Moriwaki, A. Murakami, Yoshiaki Murano, Naoko Nakaoka, Shizuma Nakaoka, Nancy Fumiko Natsuhara, Yoshio Nonaka, Iwao Oji, Mieko Oji, Asano Otsuka, Toshie Reinhardt, Michiko Mary Ryuto, Toshiko Ryuto, Deborah Saiki, Misako Saiki, Hachiro Sakai, Patsy Hisako Sato, Jinji Shiba, Kazu Shibata, Kiichi Kei Shiga, Yukio Shimizu, Henry Shimoto, Hideo Bob Shinoda, Heihachi Sugimoto, Lillian Tanaka, William Taniguchi, Kiyoshi Tashima, Sam Sanji Teranishi, George Masao Tomura, Kiraku Torigoe, Takako Tsunekawa, Shigemi Tsushima, Sadao Raymond Tsutsumi, Russell Rusty Tsutsumi, Sadako Ueda, Sam Haruo Umeda, Yasuko Mary Wakai, Chiyoko Watanabe, Kin Watanabe, Kiyoshi Watanabe, Jane Shizuko Yabumoto, Clarence Takeshi Yamada, Marie Yamada, Shigeko Ohara, Miyoko Kunisaki, Matsue Okamura, Fusae Hirakawa, Toyokichi Hirotsu, Su Sakai, Takao Shoji, Nancy Iwanaga, Toyokichi Shimoto, Juzo Ando, Tsuna Ando, Shigeto Ando, and Florence Kato. Those who have departed and those who still remain, meeting again in spirit upon this memorial service. On this occasion, let us speak spiritual values to give meaning to a grateful and fuller life. May the boundless and supreme light of wisdom shine within our hearts and minds and guide us to follow the true Buddhist way of life. In deepest gratitude. Namo Amidabutsu. Namo Amidabutsu. Namo Amidabutsu. Namandabutsu. 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 Okay, at this time, I would like to continue sharing screen so that we can chant the Suture Chanting of Sambutsuge, which is the Gatha in praise of the Buddha. So please join me in chanting at home samsuke. Kogenki Ijin Mugok Nyoseyemyo Muyo Tosha Nichigatsumani Shukoenyo Kaishitsu Onpei Yunyaku Jumok Nyodai Yogen Chosei Murin Shogaku Daion Kodu Jipo Kaimon Shojin Sanmai Chiem Itoku Muryo Shushokeru Jintai Zennen Shobutsu Hokai Kujin Jino Kugo Gaitai Mumyo Yokunu Seson Yomu Nino Shishi Jintoku Muryo Kukun Kodai Jie Jimyo Komyo Iso Shino Daisen Ganga Sabutsu Zaisho Kado Shoji Mifugedat Fusejoi Kaini Shojin Nyoze Sanmai Chieijo Kosei Tokubutsu Fugyo Shigan Isai Kukum Isadayan Keishi Ubutsu Yakusen Okuman Mudon Daisho Shunyo Goja Kuyo Isai Shiton Shonbutsu Funyo Gudo Kensho Fugyak Inyo Goja Shobutsu Sekai Mushu Setsudo Komyo Shisho Henshi Shokok Nyoze Shojin Ijin Naryo Ryoga Sabutsu Gokudo Daichi Goshu Kimyo Dojo Chozetsu Gokunyo Naion Nimutoso Gato Aimin Dodatsu Isai Jipo Daisho Shinetsu Shoujo Ito Gakok Kedaku Anon Kobutsu Shimyo Seigai Shisho Otsugon no Him Di shoyok, jipo seson, chiemuge, jodo shison, chiga shingyom, kedo shishi, shoku dokuchu, gakyo shojin, ninju fuken, namandabu, 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 namandabu. Kanishiku Pyodo Seisai Donmo Daishin Ojo An Dako. Namanda 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 Okay. Will you please join me in the recitation of the three treasures? Please join me in Gasho. Hard is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we should be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves your supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord, in your life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandouts. 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 Okay, so at this time, I'd like to share my Dharma message for Shotsuki Memorial Service for the month of May. Again, I can't believe that we're in May already. Okay, so to begin my Dharma message, will you please join me in Gasho? Although I say the Nembutsu, the feeling of dancing with joy is faint within me, and I have no thought of wanting to go to the Pure Land quickly. How should it be for a person of the Nembutsu? When I asked the master this, he answered, I too have had this question, and the same thought occurs to you, Yuembo. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namandouts. 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 Okay, so thank you so much again for tuning in or staying with us for this Shotsuki monthly memorial service for the month of May. And today we're gathered together to be able to remember our loved ones who have passed away during this particular month. So today I opened my Dharma message with a passage from the Tanisho, which is called A Record and Lament of Divergences. So you might have heard this name of this text before, Tanisho, but have you ever wondered, well, what is it and who wrote it and why was it written? So let me just share a brief introduction with you. So scholars have concluded that the Tanisho was written by a man named Yuan, who lived from 1222 until 1289. And so this was during the second half of the 13th century. So although there were a few others that had the same name, this particular person was around 40 years old when Shinran, our founder, died, and actually was related to Shinran's descendants through marriage. So they had some type of a lineage of knowing each other. The Tanisho was written and translated as a record of questions and answers between Yuan and Shinran. And a book that's written in this kind of pattern is Ocean by Reverend Tanaka. And so I appreciate this very direct questions and these answers that pertain to these questions. I like that format. And this particular record, the Tanisho, it really shows this close relationship between these two individuals, which was illustrated in their writings. And so although this work was written after Shinran Shoning's death, Yuan was compelled to write these teachings of his great teacher Shinran, which shows, I believe, how important the teachings were to him. So in the preface of the Tanisho, Yuan explains how saddened he is to hear that followers at that time were diverging from the truth of Shinran's teachings. And because of this, he was really determined to dispel some of the doubts that the followers were beginning to have at that time. So the Tanisho, it includes a prelude, and 18 questions and answers, a postscript, and an appendix. So very well involved. So which makes the Tanisho so important is its relevance, or just how it reflects in our lives today. So it addresses some of the same concerns that maybe some of us might be experiencing today as well. And so I think if maybe you picked up a copy of the Tanisho, that you might be able to feel this closeness between Shinran and his follower through these words, which maybe sometimes it feels like, oh, how can we be so connected to somebody who lived such a long time ago? But I think through this particular writing, you'd be able to see how relatable the teachings really are. So today I specifically looked at Tanisho number 9. And this specific kind of passage between the two of them, it was introduced to me while I was studying at the Institute of Buddhist Studies. And I think this one is actually one of my favorites. So in the opening of my Dharma message, I shared the beginning of this exchange between Shinran Shoning and Yuan. Remember, it goes like this. Although I say the Nembutsu, the feeling of dancing with joy is faint within me. I have no thought of wanting to go to the Pure Land quickly. How should it be for a person of the Nembutsu? When I asked the master this, he answered, I too have had this question, and the same thought occurs in you, Yuenbo. So what I really like about this particular passage is that I think they really had very honest feelings, and they shared that with one another. How they expressed that they're not very excited about passing away and going to the Pure Land just yet, despite their faith in the Nembutsu teachings. So in this exchange between the two of them, Shinran reassures his disciple that he has the same doubts and that his birth in the Pure Land is even more assured because he can't rejoice while living. So he reminds him that it's because of our blind passions that I mentioned earlier in our Star Wars Dharma message, such as greed and anger and ignorance, that really prevents this joyfulness of passing away and being born into the Pure Land. However, because the Buddha realizes that we all have this human kind of characteristics in each and every one of us for being human beings, like attachment, Shinran understands that the wisdom and compassion of the Buddha and the Buddha's vow is meant for us specifically because of our attachments and our blind passions. Shinran further stated that we're quick to think that we might be dying, if we might have a small illness that we might be experiencing, and this too is related to our blind passions. So although we know that birth in the Pure Land, as we're taught in the Nembutsu teachings, it means that we have true awakening, and we too become Buddhas because of the vow of Amida Buddha. We're still attached to our physical body, our earthly attachments, and maybe some material things as well, because we're human beings. So Shinran Shonin tells his disciple Yuen that because of all of this, we can entrust ourselves even more deeply to the vow of Amida Buddha, because the Buddha realizes that it is very difficult to sever all of these different attachments in this world. So through Tanisho number 9, it reminded me of all of my own blind passions and attachments. And we always have to go back to the Four Noble Truths, again, as a very initial teaching, the foundation of the Buddhist teachings as well. So remember the first Noble Truth. It tells us that there is suffering in this life. And we suffer from birth and aging, sickness, and death. The second Noble Truth states that our suffering does have a cause, and this is our attachments. The third Noble Truth reminds us that suffering will cease once we realize the cause of that suffering. And finally, the fourth Noble Truth reassures us that there is a way to alleviate the suffering, which we have heard that it's through the Noble Eightfold Path and ultimately through our passing and enlightenment as well. So I wanted to share with you, and some of you may have heard this before, how I too have thought about this passage in my life with a few different incidents that have happened. And there's two specific ones related to my allergies that I have when I thought too, I do not want to go to the Pure Land just yet. So I'm not sure if many of you know, but my sister and I, my sister Tiffany, we started developing food allergies in our mid-20s or maybe our early 20s. And so while I was a student at the Institute of Buddhist Studies, I started developing some slight food allergies. So the ones that I know of right now are tree nuts and kiwi fruit. So I used to love eating tree nuts, and these include a wide variety of almonds and pistachios, cashews, macadamia nuts, and of course I loved hazelnut chocolate spread in the form of Nutella, and I would always put that on my strawberries or my bananas, and that was a dessert treat for me. So when my allergies first developed, I began getting like an itchy throat, and I would cough constantly after I ate tree nuts. So that was it. Like I was still eating them, still tolerating some of the side effects. But gradually my allergies began to get worse, and my reaction included tightness in my throat and difficulty breathing. And eventually I realized I have to really sacrifice my desire for these tasty snacks to avoid anaphylaxis and trips to the hospital. However, my first trip to the hospital occurred when I was a minister's assistant for Reverend Motoyoshi, and we're required to attend trainings to be able to learn about liturgy, learn about the teachings. And so I went to a training at the Judo Shinshu Center in Berkeley. And it was a rigorous day filled with like services and lectures and a lot of practicing of the rituals that we do in the temple. And so if any of you have been to some of the trainings at the Jodo Shinshu Center, Judy Kono, who is a member of Berkeley Buddhist Temple as well. She has a wonderful crew who cooks delicious meals for us during various events held at the Judo Shinshu Center. So this particular evening, I was rather hungry, and I devoured this beef stew. And I love beef stew. However, this beef stew was a little bit different because it was a Moroccan beef stew, and it was catered and served to us. And as I mentioned, I was really hungry that day. So I almost finished with all of my beef stew. And in the last bite that I took, I bit down on something that was a little crunchy. So I wondered what it was. So I took like a small piece out of my mouth, and I realized that this Moroccan stew had almonds in it. And it was a complete surprise to me. So although the cooking staff, they had already known that I had an allergy, I think it was just an oversight, and something that, was not intentional whatsoever. And so I quickly started to get a reaction, and Judy began to think quickly, and she was going to call her daughter for her son's EpiPen, because I didn't have one at the time. But luckily there was an anesthesiologist from the Buddhist Church of Sacramento who was in attendance to this minister's assistance training. And you might know him as Sensei Kelvin Mark. So he quickly decided that we should go to the ER. And the trip to Kaiser in Oakland seemed like an eternity, as my throat began to tighten and my chest began to tighten, and I couldn't stop coughing, and I just couldn't catch my breath. So I was very scared. I was wondering if I was going to die if my anaphylaxis continued to get worse on the way to the hospital. So I was quickly triaged, luckily, and I spent the majority of the evening in the ER on a Friday night at Oakland Kaiser. And one of the members from the Judo Shinshu Center, she came to sit by my bedside throughout the night as well. So my second experience of not wanting to go to the Pure Land just yet occurred during my second ordination when I became a Judo Shinshu minister. So this was in Japan, June 2015. So this particular trip was a 10-day ordination session at Nishiyama Betsuin in Kyoto. And this too was a very rigorous training session. And our days would usually begin at 5:30 and would end around 10:30 at night. And each day included cleaning the temple, lectures in Japanese with our English translators, liturgy and ritual training, multiple services, and of course, liturgy and ritual testing. So during our 3 meals that we had with our group and with the entire group as well, we actually had to eat in silence. And so our group too, each of the members were expected to finish everything on our plates, unless before that, if we knew that we couldn't finish the whole thing, then we would take off small servings to be able to share with the rest of our group members. So the food, I actually really liked the food. And rarely though, did we ever receive anything sweet like desserts when we finished. And so when we received a dessert or even fruits, it was a really nice treat at the end of the meal. And so the staff, again, already knew of my allergies. At this point, they had been pretty severe. And I was given a separate tray on occasion to prevent cross-contamination. However, there was one evening when we received a pudding-like dessert. So our group leader quietly reassured me that it was just a tofu pudding. So I was super excited to have dessert that day. So I quickly ate it, and before I knew it, my throat started getting kind of itchy and very tight. And then I noticed that my chest was feeling tight, and I began coughing. So luckily, we were excused from dinner shortly after that. And I rushed over to our translator, Nozaki sensei. So he inquired with the catering crew what was in the pudding, and so they had to search for the box. Even on the box, there were no ingredients. So Nozaki sensei quickly used the internet on his phone to look at the ingredients, and lo and behold, it contained almond extract. So to be honest, I was quite hesitant to go to the hospital because I didn't have insurance coverage while I was over there. However, the staff reassured me that we'd figure it out, but we needed to go to the hospital. And so the best way to go was via ambulance. So my heart was racing and my chest was tightening, and I ran up to my room to bring down all of my medications to go to the hospital. And so many of you know Reverend Matt Hamasaki from the Sacramento Betsuin. He and I attended this ordination as well. And Reverend Hamasaki, he met me at the bottom of the stairs in the lobby, and he tried to assure me that it'll be okay, you'll be okay, and we'll see you later this evening. And so I didn't realize how scared I was until he hugged me to say goodbye. And of course, I just began to cry because I was so scared. So I was taken to a nearby hospital in Kyoto and quickly treated. And the doctors began to assess the situation, and they started an IV to administer medication. And I pleaded with them, please don't cut my robes or please don't cut my kimono, because that was the only pair that I had while I was there. And so I didn't want to have to replace my robes. And so they were very gentle with assessing everything, and they were very kind. So during this very hectic assessment in the ER, I was connected to various wires and IVs, and I looked at my translator who was seated right next to me. And I began to cry as I asked him to call Reverend Kuwahara back at the Judo Shinshu Center, who could then inform my dad about my hospitalization, just in case something happened to me thousands of miles away from him. So at that moment, I realized that my life again was in danger, and maybe the harsh reality of impermanence could strike at any time due to my allergic reaction. So at that moment, I knew again that I didn't want to die. So specifically, even thinking about our own Shotsuki families who have lost a member of their families during this particular month, I believe that as I mentioned before, that our loved ones who have been born into the Pure Land continue to guide and support us. And so even though I was so fearful, I too probably had my relatives and my loved ones guiding me and supporting me during this very difficult time. I believe that our loved ones continue to wish us all happiness and try to provide us strength in our lives, even though they're not physically here with us. And as our own personal Buddhas, they too will continue to guide us to the Pure Land so that we too can end our suffering of our blind passions and our attachments that we suffer from, as I mentioned earlier in today's Dharma Message. And so again, I hope that my sharing and this section from the Tanisho can just shed light on all of our human existence, of possibly, even though knowing that all of our suffering would be at its conclusion when we are born into the Pure Land. Just like myself and everybody else, we do suffer of our attachments and wanting to still be in this bodily form and be with those loved ones that we just truly enjoy spending time with. And so I hope that, again, that the Tanisho passage that I did read allows us to really look at our human experience, shed light on our human experience, possibly ease our suffering, and hopefully when it's our time, when the winds of impermanence do blow our way, that we can put our hands together in Gosho to express our gratitude to our loved ones and gratitude for the Nembutsu teachings that will allow us to be freed from our suffering when it is our time to say goodbye to our loved ones. So thank you so much for allowing me to share my thoughts and feelings about this Tanisho number 9, and of course shed some light on my own experience as well. So in conclusion, will you please join me in Gassho? Although I say the Nembutsu, the feeling of dancing with joy is faint within me, and I have not thought of wanting to go to the Pure Land quickly. How should it be for a person of the Nembutsu? When I asked the master this, he answered, I too have had this question, and the same thought occurs in you. Namo Amidabutsu. Namo Amidabutsu. Namo Amidabutsu. Namandabutsu. 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 Okay, so please join me one last time for one more recitation as we conclude today's Shotsuki service. Please join me in Gassho as we recite the Judo Shinshu Creed 2. I affirm my faith in Amida's infinite wisdom and compassion. Reciting the sacred name, I shall live with strength and joy. I shall look to Amida's guiding light. As I reflect upon my imperfect self, I live with gratitude for the perfect compassion which surrounds me at all times. I shall follow Amida's teachings. I shall understand the right path and resolve to spread the true teachings. I rejoice in Amida's wisdom and compassion. I shall respect and help my fellow beings and work for the good of my community. Namo Amidabutsu. Namo Amidabutsu. Namo Amidabutsu. Namandabutsu. 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 Okay, announcements. Okay, let me find my page. Okay, so I hope that everybody had a chance to wish your loved ones a happy birthday for the month of May. And again, I wanted to say happy birthday to Kayla Hamamoto, Mei Saiki, Meiko Horita, Keith Naishi, Rick Naishi, Kelsey Hayashi, Lester Sterling, Jennifer Hota, Alex Sakata, and Reverend Yukiko Motoyoshi. Remember YBA, it's YBA week, and please help support the YBA through their fundraisers at Sakura Gifts, or today's your last day to do the Pizza Guys fundraiser as well. So remember, Sakura Groceries and Gifts starts tomorrow until May 6th, and please see the Karma for details. Our spring seminar is on May 15th with our guest speaker, Bishop Marvin Harada, and he will be our guest speaker for the following service as well as we celebrate Gotane, Parents' Day, and Hatsumairi. And we're so fortunate to have Bishop Harada join us for these 2 days. So please tune in and let me know if you have any questions or concerns regarding the registration that's required for the seminar. Let's see. So remember, instead of our Memorial Day cemetery services, we will have a Zoom Memorial Day service on May 31st at 10 a.m. via Zoom. And so if you already receive our Zoom invitations for our weekly services, you'll receive this invitation as well. Keep saving your box tops so that we can send all of those in to help our local schools. And Sangha Club is still happy to accept your recyclables for their recycling. And those can be dropped off during the time that the gates are open here at the temple. And you can leave them under this. Let's see. And thank you so much to all of you who either donate online or send in your osaisen or other offerings to the temple. We truly appreciate your support during this time. Let's see. Are there any other announcements that I might have missed? Darlene, I'm not sure if you have it available, but there is a Panda Express fundraiser to benefit the Buddhist Churches of America, which is our national organization. And I believe that you can use a specific code and get an online order. And those fundraiser, oh, nice. Thank you, Darlene. And so those funds will help support the Buddhist Churches of America Endowment Foundation. Thanks, Darlene. And so I believe, is it the 22nd? So there's the link, and so you could copy and paste that link to your web browser. Let's see. And is it 28% of sales will go to the Buddhist Churches of America? If you have any questions about this, let us know. Darlene, do you have any other further details? Okay. So if you
Sorry,
have
I couldn't get back to my screen to unmute. No, it's nationwide. So you can even send it to family and friends if that they don't live in town, kids that don't live in town, grandkids. And it's in a nationwide, and it has to be ordered online. You cannot bring the flyer in and order at the counter. So it has to be ordered online in order for BCA to get 28%. This goes to the Dharma Forward campaign, which is a campaign to raise $15 million to support BCA projects such as communications, which provides you all the CBE workshops that you enjoy online. Also to help us with general expenses, Buddhist education, the IBS, which Reverend Candace benefited from immensely. So I encourage you to please support either by buying Panda and having a Panda party, as somebody coined it, on May 22nd, or if you would like information on donating directly to the Dharma Forward campaign, you could call the temple office or go to the BCA website, and we will gladly accept your donation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Darlene. Are there any other announcements that I might have missed? No? Okay. So thanks everybody for tuning in for one or both services. We appreciate your attendance via Zoom. And if we have any new friends, Dharma friends, thank you so much for joining us or tuning into YouTube as well. Please take very good care, and we'll see you again next week. Okay. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care. We'll see you soon.